For this segment, we have 3 minutes. In our revolution, Thurston County would like to welcome all the candidates from, let's see, that's Sarah Morris, and you're running for Lacey. Which position? Position 1. And Lynda Zeman, you're running for what position in Lacey?
Position 3.
And Leatta Dahlhoff?
Leatta
Dahlhoff. Which
Position 1.
Position 1 for Tumwater. And Molly Carmody from Yelm. And we'd like to start with a 3-minute. Would you like to start first?
My name is Sarah Morris. I'm running for Lacey City Council, position number 1. The 3 issues that my campaign is based on is going to be waste management, the homeless crisis that we're in, and then fiscal stewardship. Waste management was actually the issue that pushed me into the political arena. I always tell people I have a passion for garbage, which kind of seems weird, and I think it's more a passion for our planet that is choking itself out in garbage. Thurston County is getting ready to renegotiate the contract with WCI, and I would love to be a part of that. I have a vision for single stream garbage, minus glass, which would just mean that we have people that know what is recyclable, and what's not. It's forever changing, and so what ends up happening is things that may have been recyclable before are not any longer. And then when that gets put into the recycle bin, that recycle bin, when the truck comes in, ends up in the landfill. And I hate the statistic, but they say 85% of our recycling ends up in the landfill. So to me, single stream would just simplify that and just be way more beneficial. Next, this is what happened last time. Homelessness is where my heart's at. I think one of the biggest crises that we're facing right now is dehumanization. I think that it started with social media, and we forget that there's real live humans on the other end of our actions. So, which include ordinances. Okay, so I'm gonna back up here. So homelessness and dehumanization. I think it is so important to lead with compassion and to remember that our homeless community is full of mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. And it could be us. And I think people forget that because everybody goes to this place of, well, it would never happen to me. I don't know that they thought it would ever happen to them. So leading with compassion, then accountability and stability. What comes first? Absolutely stability. You cannot have accountability without stability. So, I love the analogy of the fisherman. I think it's important that we start teaching people how to fish and stop giving fish. Last, certainly not least, fiscal stewardship. Remembering that we are in charge of the taxpayers' money. It's not our own money, it's the taxpayer money. Luckily in Lacey, we have a high S&P rating, so I just intend to include that. So please visit my website, sarahforlacey.com. Contact me, your voice matters to me, and that's it.
You're so awesome.
I'm so nervous.
She has no reason to be nervous, right? Because she's such a rock star, and I would be so excited to serve with her on City Council. My name is Lynda Zeman. I'm running for Lacey City Council, position 3, to retain my seat. I was appointed. Oh my gosh, I think it's been almost 8 weeks now. Yes, I know. So experienced. I come before you as a mother of 2 young children, wife of an Army veteran, and a small business owner. So I have the same expectations as most people in their community, and that is to feel safe and be safe in my community, to watch it prosper and grow, and to have it be family friendly, and that's all kinds of families, whatever they may be, but let it be friendly to all. And so that's not a hard dream to see, and I don't think that it's a difficult road, really. I'm really nervous too. Sorry, I gave it to you. So I believe that the best leaders are listeners. I want to stand up. Can I stand up? Thank you. I feel awkward sitting. Let me just read. I have a heart for the community, and I'm dedicated to serving the people of Lacey in an accessible and accountable way. I believe the best leaders are listeners. When more voices are lifted up and represented at the decision-making table, the better the outcome. I'm a broad thinker concerned with making cognizant choices while using connection and collaboration to spark innovative solutions. Like all cities, we have our own unique set of challenges, but through partnership with different communities within the whole of Lacey and solution-based discussion, we can overcome any challenge and foster the standards of excellence already in place. So I wanted to also touch on the three things that I told you about myself earlier, how I identify in a way. As a mother of 2 young children, that's an important aspect because Lacey's a very family-oriented place. We want gathering places for our families. We want parks. Our green spaces are important to us. And that's for all people to enjoy. So that's one aspect of me that identifies and has a perspective of the community. The other thing that I mentioned is that I'm the spouse of a military veteran. That's really important for Lacey because we're a neighboring community to JBLM, and 40% of our population has some tie to the military. I use my voice in many ways as a city council member now to talk broadly about how we can help our veterans and our military spouses in the community to achieve more prosperous family solutions, because I'll talk to you more about that some other time. Let's see. And then the other thing is that I'm 32 years old. The largest demographic within the city of Lacey is between 24 and 35. If you believe in representative government, you'll pick someone like me, because I'm a woman in Lacey, I'm a small business owner providing living wage jobs in Lacey, and I'm within that age demographic. Not to mention, and not that it's something that necessarily is your decision, but I'm the only woman of color on that council. So I have to stop now. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Leatta Dahlhoff, and I'm running to retain my seat on Tumwater City Council. I was appointed unanimously last February. I have a 41-year history with Tumwater. All my memories and experiences have a thread back to Tumwater. And I want to give back to the community that has given so much to me and to my family. So what does giving back look like? It looks like retaining my seat on council and being part of developing and implementing policies and procedures to see all of our community members, our services, our businesses, and our environment thrive. Not just survive, but to thrive. So there are 3 issues needing council attention. One is housing. What does that look like for those who are one paycheck away, those who are houseless, those who are street dependent? What does that look like for the demographic of our community members in Tumwater, and coming up with a solution for Tumwater, in addition to coming up with a regional solution, because it's a regional issue. And I offer a lens to the council by being a board member of Homes First and other nonprofit organizations, such as I was on the board of YWCA for 6 years, and I'm also currently on the board of Senior Services for South Sound. 2 is implementing the Metropolitan Parks District that was recently passed by a majority vote, around 76%. That goes to our public health, preserving and protecting our environment. And I have 2 lenses that I can offer to council regarding that. I was born with severe allergies and asthma, so I know well the importance of clean air, land, and water for our current generations and our future generations. Also, it goes to protecting the environment. I have been a chemist and environmental specialist for the Department of Ecology for 17 years, and I have over 20-year experiences with pollution prevention and toxics reduction. 3rd is developing our brewery district. My goal is to have a townhouse in the brewery district, and I have just updated my will to leave my house to Homes First for affordable housing for low and very low income people. I want to walk the walk. I want to set an example in Tumwater, and I need to retain my seat to be able to do that on a larger scale and impact positive change. So my name is Leatta Dahlhoff. I'm running to retain my seat on Tumwater City Council. I ask for your support and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
My name is Carmody, and I'm running to be re-elected to position 2 for the Yelm City Council.
What's your mic closer?
How's that? Better? Okay, my name is Carmody. I'm running for Yelm City Council re-election position 2. When I was first elected in 2015, there were 3 of us that ran that year, and we ran on a platform of transparency because nobody knew what the city of Yelm was doing. Nobody talked to anybody. The city council didn't talk to the public. The mayor didn't talk to the public. Nobody knew what the budget process was. Nobody knew how things worked. And so we ran on this platform, and we've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've started recording our video. We're recording our study sessions, and now we have a 3-step process to voting, so that if somebody has an issue, we read it once, we read it twice, 2 weeks later, and then on the 3rd go around is when we vote on an issue, so that people have 6 weeks literally to communicate to us, that they might have an issue with how we might be voting. We've got Facebook pages for both the city and law enforcement now, and most of the city council members are starting to get Facebook pages. I communicate regularly with my constituents. Every time there's a city council meeting, I update them. This is what we did, this is how we voted, yada, yada, yada. And then, I might throw in some information, just around the community. It's been a really good way to get feedback to people and from people. But we still need we still have a long way to go. I have proposed a month-by-month biennial budget calendar so that everybody knows exactly where we are in the budgeting process. Now we've gone to a 2-year budget so that we know exactly where we're going to be in March. We know exactly where we're going to be in July. We know exactly where we're going to be in November. And then when we finally pass it in December, everybody in Yelm should know exactly what we're talking about. That's my goal, is open transparency. That actually ties into my second platform, which is communications. This goes back to how we haven't communicated in the past. I would really like to see more polling of citizens, online polling through SurveyMonkey or whatever, and I know that the city can do this because it's done it before. I'd like to see regular polling, especially during that budget process, so that people can say, yes, this is what's important, this is how I want my money spent. I'd like to see more town halls. We originally had said we wanted, town halls once a year, then we said we wanted them every, 6 months, and that just hasn't happened. The current mayor said, yeah, we're gonna have town halls, but we've had one since he got elected. And that's just unacceptable. We really need to be communicating with the people more. So I'd like to see them go to quarterly. My third issue would be really supporting the Growth Management Act. We need to build up, not out. We need to increase affordable housing for everybody, and we need to increase transportation access for everyone. Thank you.
Please tell us of your involvement with the Yelm Homelessness Task Force and what you expect the Yelm City Council to accomplish to provide support and especially overnight warmth for our houseless neighbors in the city of Yelm.
First of all, I actually started the Homelessness Task Force. I've been hearing from people that this is an issue that people want to talk about. And so I got the rest of City Council to finally get together and say, yeah, let's do this, let's donate, let's give a little bit of money to the task force, and have a group of citizens get together to meet for a year and evaluate what's going on in Yelm, what needs to happen in Yelm, and what the task force recommends that City Council will do. So we're about halfway through that process, so I can't really tell you what's going to happen, or what the task force is going to end up recommending to City Council. I will say that the state legislature has made great strides in, making changes so that cities can do things to help homelessness. The RCW now allows for loans. If you want to build a more affordable housing, you can get a loan from a city now. So the cities can sell surplus properties at no or low cost to people who want to build housing for the homeless. We are now allowed to access state funds through House Bill 1406. The Enhanced House Bill 1219, it says that cities can now use the REIT excise tax, the real estate excise tax, for housing or homelessness issues, and I'd like to see Yelm start doing that. Specifically, the Supreme Court has come back, I think it was in 2017, in a decision for Stickney versus Sammamish that said that the city of Sammamish was violating the Growth Management Act by not providing housing for all economic segments of the community. So this is something that's starting to come down the pipeline, and cities need to be recognize that this is going to be an issue that it's our responsibility to provide housing, not necessarily by the city, but at least enable it to be built more specifically for people that can't necessarily afford housing. So, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Tumwater recently had our work session. Is today Wednesday? We had it yesterday. The days blend together. Where we unanimously voted to move forward on what Molly was talking about, of applying for the state sales tax, which would amount to $55,000 in Tumwater. And we are looking to develop what would that look like, and specifically for the demographic in Tumwater, what we're looking at, and the people we're seeing are those who are one step away from being houseless. That's the majority of our population. Those who we've identified as street-dependent houseless have been there for 10, 15 years, and we know them, and so that's a different solution. So within Tumwater, we have 2 documents that are online that is a table of what we call low-hanging fruit, right? And then short-term, long-term, what does that look like? And then the impact to meeting that need, but also staff resources and planning that out and allocating funds. Last year in our budget was the first time we actually allocated funding to delve into houseless and affordable housing. So a city's budget really dictates your priorities in your community. So that's a big step for Tumwater to actually put 2 line items in our budget. So we're moving in the right direction. In addition, there's a housing action team and the recently new formed regional housing consortium that electeds just met in June, the staff just met in July, so we'll be moving forward. We also are looking for locations for a potential mitigation site and what would that look like. So Tumwater has opened those, we're moving forward. They're short-term, long-term, but everything is posted online. If you'd like more information, I'm available.
The City of Lacey actually has some of the most progressive actions moving forward as far as what a city can do to help build more affordable housing. One of the programs I was really excited about moving forward and really trying to champion is our accessory dwelling unit program. And it's really quite novel because what it does is it involves the city with local financial institutions to provide a path forward for residents of Lacey to build small, tiny housing or accessory dwelling units on their property. We're also providing turnkey plans for residents to look at. So that means they're not paying any architect fees or planning fees, that type of thing. All of those things are waived because we have paid for them. We've paid for the plans. And we're also partnering with private sector builders to try to keep those prices low because we're removing any connection fees. We're also removing any permit fees. All those things are really important to keeping housing low, and that's something that a city can hold on to and grasp and say, we're going to push this forward. Let me help you create more affordable housing in our city for people. The next thing that we're doing is, and it's in all of the headlines, that we are partnering with the county for a mitigation site, and I prefer to say a safe sleep site. Mitigation just sounds not right. And so it is emergency shelter and safe sleep. And what I would like to see happen with that is a system of continuum of care and helping people take next steps so that they can move into shelter space. So, and what is appropriate for them? Because what we talk about a lot is drug use and all these types of things, but let's talk about those women who are out on the street because of domestic violence or because of human trafficking, because of those unseen crimes and exploitation that put people on the street. So I'm trying to bring my voice to that and saying, let's find appropriate continuum of care shelter for people in our community.
it's hard to go after with the same city because the additional dwelling unit is also one of my favorite programs that the city of Lacey is offering. So when I think of the current homeless crisis, one of the other things that come to mind for me is partnership. And I think that there are so many different areas that we can partner. Another thing that Lacey's currently doing is partnering with the community, the faith community. They have where they're donating property, excess property, and then the faith community is, I wish I could think of it's Eric and Genesis House, and building shelter for North Thurston homeless youth, which I saw the number, to hear the number of almost 900 homeless youth in North Thurston School District alone shook me to my core. I mean, it wasn't the numbers, when you start looking at the numbers, it gets really real. So with the mitigation site, a big thing for me is progression and kind of a tiered structure where you're moving up, you're moving forward. But I think that a big part of that is also, people talk about rules and high barrier and safety and all of this stuff, but you have to realize we have to be open. Everybody needs help. All the people that are out there that need help, I believe that it is the city's responsibility to make sure that those that want help can get help. So I think the mitigation site is definitely a step in the right direction.
How will you, or have you, protected the green areas in the more rural sections of your communities, such as farmers, in each of your communities?
I think one of the hardest things about these forums is when you get a question that you don't really have an answer for. And farming, oh my goodness, where do you go with it? I definitely support farming and green space, but it definitely, I would need to get back to you on this question, because I personally, when I hear what have you done, I don't want to fill you full of fluff and give you some political answer. And so I have horses, chickens, and I mean, I don't know. That's my answer. Oh God, you said I wasn't supposed to ever say I don't know, but the truth is, oh shoot, definitely just happened. And then I went on to say it 3 more times. So, luckily, oh God, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna pass the microphone on.
She's so great. So I also don't have a big answer for you because Lacey doesn't have a lot of agricultural commerce within the city limits. There's very minimal kind of agro-tourism that goes on with some wineries in our northeast Lacey area. We have like a tasting consortium of wineries and brewers in that area, if you kind of want to think of it that way. And I believe most of them use local grain and local grapes. And I would have to check in on that, but I think so. To preserve and protect green spaces is kind of another question. We have a lot of acreage in Lacey that needs some sort of development and use, otherwise it goes unchecked. And the reason it needs some development and some use is to protect it, to keep it clean, to keep it in its place and the way that it should be naturally beautiful in our city. When I moved here, that was one of the things that drew me to living in Lacey, is just how absolutely stunning it is. It's a wonderful place to live. The air feels much better than Florida. and there's so much green, and there's places to take your shoes off and sit in the grass and sit under a tree. So if you're talking about protecting green spaces, I think we do that in our parklands and how we have those. The next question is getting maintenance dollars to maintain them. So, thank you.
Hi there. Tumwater is actually very fortunate with our green spaces. My parents chose Tumwater in the 70s because it was a rural environment with access to urban amenities. And I think that's what makes Tumwater stand out, is that I have 2 bunnies in my yard. I have deers that are eating my vegetables. I'm not angry about that. It does concern me because I have no strawberries now. So what we've done is most cities have an average of about 17% green space. Tumwater has 24%. Yes, most of it is the golf course, but that's a community asset. We are looking to develop that and have it available. We have the movies on the screen. We have Brew Fest. We have the mayor would like zoo lights. That could be a challenge with the golf course, but he's really sticking to that. We also, when properties open up, Tumwater looks at our capital facilities plan. Our general fund. What fundings do we have to purchase green space and keep it green space? Recently, with the passing of the Metropolitan Land Parks District, the staff for parks has been the same amount since 1994. With this passing, we now can maintain our parks and develop 4 new parks, and in 5 years, purchase land and build a community center with potential space for a pool if there's partnership with the school districts and potentially Olympia. So it's really, really exciting. I think that's how Tumwater stands out, is because protecting and preserving our green space and knowing the importance of clean air, land, and water. And you know, our tagline is, it's the water, because it's true. So I'm proud to live in Tumwater.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but every city in the state of Washington is required to review its comprehensive plan every 7 years. So basically what that means is that every city takes a look at what it wants to be. You know, do I want to be the next Seattle? Do I want to be the next Olympia? Where, you know, how do I see myself in the general scheme of things? And Yelm has kind of chosen to celebrate that with the fact that we're on the Bountiful Byways path. And, you know, we have a variety of different zoning areas for residential properties. So you can have a residential property inside the city of Yelm that's 5 acres. Or, you know, you can live on a unit, a 1 acre unit that has, you know, 20 apartments on it. We're not gonna limit that. But we do provide for a different variety of zonings or densities so that people can keep their green spaces if they want them. We're increasing the amount of money that we're spending on our parks. We have been developing a lot of amenities in our parks, so that's really good to see. Just as an aside, I personally would like to get rid of a lot of lawn that we mow and replace it with wildflowers, because we really need to, you know, help our bees out. And it's not just the honeybees; it's all of the pollinators need help. And you know, we spend so much money mowing. If we could save even just $25,000 worth of labor mowing our lawns in the city of Yelm, you know, and I'm just talking about the public lawns, you know, like the byways in the middle of the streets, and plant them with wildflowers, that would be fantastic. So, and that's an addition, you know, that's a kind of an amenity for the green space for Yelm, which is the pride of the prairie, you know, let's keep it that way. Okay, well, I moved to Yelm back in 2009. My husband is an attorney, and he was working as a real estate attorney at the time. And he made $95 1 month because that was the recession. And so we decided, you know what, let's move out into the country, away from Olympia, and open our law firm. And so I was working as a certified nursing assistant. I was making $1,200 a month. You know, we were going into forbearance on all of our student loans. We were juggling paycheck to paycheck. We literally were paying our mortgage with my paycheck. And then so we started the law office, and we were invited to join or start this association called the Yelm Business Association, which was started because people were so frustrated with the government of the city of Yelm. And everybody was like, what is wrong with this government? Why can't we get information from these people? The mayor won't talk to us. The city council members literally fall asleep at the meetings. You know, I mean, it was just inexcusable. And we said, let's do something about this. And so the YBA, the Yelm Business Association, said, Molly, we're gonna make you run for office. And I said, what? Me? I can't do this. I've never done this in my life. I never even ran for student council in school, right? But they made me do it, and I stood up and I started doorbelling, and I figured out what do I want to say? What bothers me about the city? And what bothered me was that nobody knew what was going on, and so that was my platform. And that's what I said, you know what, transparency is critical, and we all know that. We're watching our government at the top levels, they hold secrets, they hire their cronies, and that's just inexcusable. We need to make sure that the government is by the people and for the people, and not just for the top 1%. It's inexcusable. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to sort of represent everybody and to make sure that everybody gets to communicate with their government the way that they want to. Thanks.
Thank you. So Keoki and I have talked about this over the years. He mentioned trauma. So I acknowledge I am a white woman of privilege, and so I have the opportunity to be an ally and an advocate. So what does that look like? The trauma that my past generations have experienced is domestic violence. My grandmother was the original Rosie the Riveter at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, and I'm named after her. So she forged the path that I'm on today, and it is my responsibility to forge that path for the next generation. In addition, trauma with my caregiving for my father and my grandmother for 15 years took a toll. So knowing that when my father passed and we received a bill for $396,000, didn't know how we were going to pay for that, I realized I needed to use my voice, and that came to the showing up, standing up, and speaking up, and using my privilege to amplify the voices that are being marginalized and ignored and shut aside and closed off. It's personal. I don't know any other way to live. My mother and father and grandmother, very close family, very tight-knit, that's all I have. And all I have is my mother left, and I caregive for her. So bringing those lenses, plus my health care, I grew up in the hospital with my allergies and asthma. So it's important to me. And so I joined the Planning Commission of Tumwater 4 years ago to be a part of that change. Because if you want to see change, you have to be part of the change. And I have the ability to show up, to stand up, and speak up for others who may not have that ability. And so I can make space at the table, but also make space for their voices so that their voices are heard and they're part of decision making, because they need to be part of the policies. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
This is a very deeply personal question that as a candidate, it's interesting to have to share it so publicly because it becomes part of your heart. And if it's not part of your heart, you're doing it for the wrong reason. So I also feel like if you're not using your voice and you don't have a place at the table, then you can't really affect change the way you want to. And it's not that each and every single one of us needs to sit at the table, but somebody who makes space for others, who listens intently and with purpose, and recognizes the voices of others should be at the table. Not those with their own agenda, not those who think they know best for everyone. And I feel like I'm that person. I'm that person who connects. I'm that person, that's what I do in my private life, in my business life. I'm a networker for my business. And so connecting with people is a passion of mine. And through connection, you listen and you hear other people's hearts. And that's what's important in municipal government, because that's the closest place you can touch people's lives. That's why I didn't want to aspire to run for a higher office now, or that type of thing, because municipal government is where you affect change. It's where you touch people, people's lives the closest and the fastest. And so that was really important to me. I feel like representational government is extremely important. The person that I am, I'm very white passing. I know that. I'm half Egyptian though. And so my brother and my father are brown men. I recognize what it is to be discriminated against, and I recognize what it looks like to be prejudiced as well. And so I understand, I walk a fine line, and having that perspective I feel is really important, especially in a growing, diversified city of Lacey. Thank you.
How many of you felt disenfranchised in 2016? How many of you felt like you had like your vote was not heard, your voice was not heard? That's why I'm here. I have loved Bernie Sanders since before it was the cool thing to do. Like, way back in the day, I wanted Bernie as a president. And oh my God, when he announced, there was literally a time that I was like, did I die? Like, is this really happening? And I went from really happy to really pissed off. And I don't want to let that lead me. I didn't want that to be the reason why I'm doing this. And so I had to do a lot of internal work on how to turn that anger into inspiration. In case you guys can't tell, I'm not real good at public speaking. Love the public, I love speaking. If any of you ever talk to me by myself, I don't shut up. I know words, they actually make sense when I say them. But when you put those two things together, I clam up and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't even know what I've been doing. I freak out, disassociate. Right now I'm kind of watching this from behind. No, just kidding, I'm not really, but what I hope is that I inspire. How many in this room have thought about running? How many, I mean, for years, that it's just been this annoying little gnat that is there? Is there anybody in here? So,
We have Helen
yeah.
in the back.
Yay.
Helen Wheatley in the back.
So I'm hoping, and maybe there's some out there watching this video, that because when I talk to people, I hear it all the time. Oh, I've thought about running. Oh, well, what I'm gonna tell you is it's mortifying. But if I can do it, you've seen how good I am at this, and if I can do it, what I'm telling you is that you can do it. And please, this is how we change stuff. This is what democracy looks like.
Did any of you eat any fish that were caught in Bud Inlet or from any of the close community area waters?
Because I don't know enough about the ecology of Bud Inlet or the waters around that, I'm not going to answer that question because I don't feel like I'm capable of answering intelligently. What I can say is that as a Yelm City Council member, I do represent Yelm on the Nisqually River Council, and you know, every month we go to these meetings and we get these talks from real scientists who come to us and say, we're losing, this is critical. You know, the orcas are dying, the salmon runs are down, the sound pollution in the Puget Sound is amazingly terrible for the whales. The water temperatures are rising, we're not getting enough flow in the Nisqually River. There are not enough log jams, natural log jams, because of the dams that are there. You know, normally these logs would flow down and creates, you know, safe habitat for salmon to spawn in. And, you know, it's devastating to watch this happen. Every month we get these bad reports. And I don't know how to stop it. All I know is that I can start yelling about it, and I can talk to my representative, who's JT Wilcox, and Andrew Barkis, and you know, Denny Heck. I don't know the answer, but I know that I can make my voice heard, and I think it's critical because we are losing, and when it's gone, it's gone. So, you know, we really need to fight for it, and that's one of the really depressing things about being the only progressive in the City of Yelm Council is because nobody there really even cares. I can talk about it until the cows come home in Yelm, and they don't care. I've talked about plastic bag bans, and I literally get laughed out of the room. So I'm kind of in a rock and a hard place there. Thanks.
Along with Molly, I can speak to, I grew up fishing at Black Lake. and Barnes Lake and all the other lakes in Tumwater. I initially go left brain as a chemist is analytical data. I mean, Helen mentioned that in her responses, the data, what the data shows. So our mayor represents Tumwater on those committees. So my answer would be I would need to see the data and what does that compare to. But I can't speak to if you fish in Tumwater. You're good.
I also don't know the data. I'm Bud Inlet. The rhetoric is that, oh God, no, right? That's what a lot of people say. But again, I don't know exactly what's going on in there. But I can speak to something I am passionate about regarding water, and that is the septic to sewer transition within our city, which is extremely important for the city of Lacey because comparatively to the other jurisdictions, City of Lacey in our UGA has 8,558 septic systems that will eventually need to be transitioned into sewer. And why does it need to be transitioned into sewer? Because we will run out of water with the growth rate that we have. We only have 2 water rights, and those need to be protected at all costs, and we need to bring the water back into our system for reuse. Otherwise, we will have a problem. And yes, it might be a 150-year problem, but it's still a problem that it's our job to fix today, not in 150 years when there's a crisis. And it was because of that sentiment that I have that the City of Lacey chose to make me the chair for the Utilities Committee, which is the largest part of our budget at 46%, and the largest employer and part of the city. So that's a lot for me, but water is extremely important to keep clean, and I don't know that I would eat a fish out of Bud Inlet. Thank you.
So one of the things that I think is really important in this journey is it's not possible to know all the data, all the reports, all the ordinances, all the things. And so I think it's important to reach out to the people that we know that can tell us this data. So in this case, what I would do is I would say, hey, Helen, should I eat a fish out of Bud Inlet? Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's what I would do, is I would turn to somebody who has looked at data, who has the wherewithal and the knowledge, and I trust that. We have to trust our elected officials to reach out to the professionals. We're not all going to be professional in every single aspect. So that would be my answer, is that I would reach out to somebody and may or may not eat the fish.
And with that, I want to give a shout out to the tribes because the tribes actually have data and nobody's asking them for their data, so that would be a place to go. So please give a round of applause for our wonderful candidates from Yelm, Lacey, and Tumwater.